welcome everyone.
Okay.
This this panel was really the fruit of serendipity. I met Louisa Onuoha, who works with the National Commission for Museums and Monuments, but and she requested to in August, she requested to join the LinkedIn, the MCN LinkedIn group. So we decided to, connect with each other. And I thought it would be a good thing if maybe she wanted to join us and speak at the conference. And I'm glad that this conversation bore fruits. And so today, I think we have two at least, and possibly a third person who are going to join us. And the way that we had envisioned to do that is to let Louisa and Mary introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about their role in museums in Nigeria, and where they live. So Louisa, why don't you go ahead? And by the way, for the audience, just so you know, broadband internet is is not ubiquitous in Nigeria, and so they are connecting through their cell phone right now.
Yeah.
And so when we did their little rehearsal, the production rehearsal, we found that being on video actually made the call worse. So we decided for this call that they would be anonymous with their names only. So Louisa Onuoha, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Louisa Onuoha. I work with the National Commission for Museums and Monuments in Nigeria. Presently, I work as a museum education officer at the National Museum Oyo in the King's Palace. It's a historic museum. And we have galleries, we have a gallery, and we have collection, though it's small, but we have collection. And my job entails coming up with programs for school children, coming up with programs, museum educational programs, and guided tours, outreaches. I know.
Mm-hmm. And you are in Oyo, correct?
Yes, I'm in Oyo.
That's right, which is
Oyo is the ancient town. Is an ancient town in Nigeria.
That's right.
If you've ever heard of the Yorubas, that's where I am.
Good. And I know you told me yesterday it was like 3 hours north of Lagos or something like that, right?
Yes. It's a 3-hour drive from Lagos. It's on the north of Lagos, on your way to, if you're going to the northern part of Nigeria, from Lagos to Oyo.
And I just want to add one more thing: is Louisa is the official representative of ICOM in Nigeria for Nigeria. So I think she's in contact with this organization. Yes. So Mary, Aharanwa, why don't you introduce yourself to us and let us know what's your role and the museum you work at.
Okay, I am Mrs. Aharanwa Mary, a Deputy Director of Educational Services in Lagos Museum. I've been working with the museum over 25 years. Our work there is mainly to enhance visitors' ability to understand and participate in museums on their collections. Mm-hmm. We also further helps in promoting greater public awareness of the role of the museum in the community and the society at large. Mm-hmm. And we also promote the museum as a center of public learning. Mm-hmm. To individuals. We encourage the individuals to find their own level of intellectual physical and emotional engagement with the museum's heritage resources. And also we have the idea to represent our museums, to present our museum to various communities around to know the heritage of the people. So these are the main work we do in Lagos Museum, as well as doing outreach programs to schools, inviting them for programs to create awareness.
And just a quick question, the outreach school programs that you're doing at the museum, Mary, are these based on Nigerian history or art, art history and history of Nigeria? I'm just curious.
Yeah, the outreach programs basically on the historical aspect of Nigerian culture and heritage.
Got it. Okay.
The upcoming generation, most of them might not know what the cultural heritage is all about. And we have 6 classic objects that represent the Bini bronze. We have the Ife artwork, we have the Iwoku, we have the Nok. So all these things are with the pictures taken to the outreach to the schools to educate them on the heritage.
Nkechi is here. Can you hear me?
And Nkechi has joined,
You're
right?
welcome.
Perfect.
I'm here now.
Perfect
Good.
segue. Hi, Nkechi. So
I'm
gonna let introduce yourself very briefly. Say who you are and what's your role and in the museums in Nigeria.
Okay. My name is Nkechi Adedeji. I'm an assistant director in Monuments, Heritage and Sites, National Museum, Lagos. We are actually in charge of the maintenance and management of monuments, historical sites, both intangible and tangible heritage, general heritage resources. So we protect, we conserve, and preserve the monuments. What we do is go do physical conservation status of the monuments, and to find out what has happened to them in terms of deterioration and all that, and then try to fix them as much as possible, not to, destroy the facade of the monuments, to keep them intact because they are our heritage resources. So basically what we do is try to create awareness as well that these monuments exist and the history behind these monuments. So we are in charge of managing the monuments as a whole and protecting them, maintaining them. That is basically what we do as monument officers.
Thank you, Nkechi. And so just for clarification for our audience, the National Commission for Museums and Monuments, Nigeria, is the overarching federal governmental agency, if you will, in charge of all the cultural sites, including monuments, cultural sites, and of course museums, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So
they are the custodians of the monuments.
That's right. But I'm just, for our audience, I just think it's important to, specify that all museums basically are under the aegis of this National Commission for Museums and Monuments, which is a state agency. So when Nkechi, Louisa, and Mary and myself had kind of a quick rehearsal a couple of days ago, and tried to talk about, what is digital now. And it quickly occurred to me that, there are, some things in Nigeria, for example, like 40%, I think, broadband penetration is about 40%, which means the rest of the population basically accesses the internet through mobile, which is very common in most parts of the world. And and then, Louisa told me that you have a couple of websites, but they're
not so functional.
They're not functional.
active. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then I heard that actually you are using Instagram and WhatsApp and Facebook as a means of communication among people, but also with your stakeholders and your communities. And so rather than, I thought, have you talk about what is digital now, why don't we just meet you where you're at? And I would love to hear, and for our audience as well, what are the things that you do, for example, with Instagram and Facebook and others to try to keep in touch with those school kids, or to attract them to the museum? Are you doing anything at all in storytelling to get people to get to a particular site or museums? What tools do you currently use, and for what?
Who wants to answer this?
Louisa, take over.
Well, in terms of our national monuments, we actually use this same social media, to create awareness on the monuments we have in the country. Actually, I'm in Lagos State, so I am particularly assigned, to our monuments in Lagos State. So those are the ones we, expose to the public, to let them know that these monuments exist, and then there are the history behind them. So these are just the social media that we use, to disseminate this information. Actually, we haven't really gone digital like that. So it's actually the social media, the Facebook, the Instagram that we use to create awareness that these monuments exist in the commission.
And
so
do you
don't have anything digital?
Do you use the official Instagram account, or do you use your own personal Instagram account?
There's an official Instagram account. There's an official Facebook account as well. Okay.
And that's how you communicate with your stakeholders,
public,
basically.
Yes, with the public and the stakeholders, actually.
And how about school group visits in a, still a COVID world? How is that limiting access to, typically do school children in Nigeria go to museums and visit museums?
Yes. I'd like to, if I may answer that. School children actually do visit museums. Most of our visitors, school children count for like 70% of visitors
your
to
audience,
the museum.
Right?
Yes, our audience. And pre-COVID era, we didn't have a problem. We did everything in person and physical. We go to schools, they come to the museum, we take them around the galleries, we teach them things and all. But during COVID, it became very, very difficult. Nobody was going anywhere. The world was shut down. And so that affected the museum and even the museum staff, quite a lot. And post-COVID, if I may call this period post-COVID, if really we are in post-COVID, it's also the same thing. We realize right now that we need to go digital, but the digital technology is not easy for us to achieve, actually. And it's in the pipeline. We're trying to, get online presence, so that people can actually reach us in the confines of their homes, in the comfort of their sitting rooms or their rooms, wherever they are. So that's the point where we are right now. We realize that having online presence, virtual tours, will bring a lot of visibility, even during whatever pandemic is on. I mean, we can always showcase what we have and teach people and teach students, but so that's where we really haven't gone digital, but we have it in the pipeline. We're planning to do it. And this is because of paucity of funds and the manpower.
Right. So, and websites are not even, you said they basically need to be redone entirely, but the question is probably like, do you need a website to begin with? Is there a discussion among the museum around the necessity of having a website or not?
Yes, there is. We actually do have a website, but it's just that the website, maybe a year after it was created, after the first, year, it hasn't been active. So it's just there. So we know that we need a website. If we can start with the website first, and then do, just get a little content ongoing, and then we can always build on that eventually.
Tell me about the content and the storytelling activities that you do. What tools do you use? What's your process so that we can understand, like the ways that you get that achieved?
Okay, well, the content they're both tangible and intangible.
Yeah.
For instance, if we have a group coming, we have several different kinds of, various groups. We have school children, we have expatriates, we have the local community, we have different people wanting to come to see the museum. So we attend to each group depending on their needs. For instance, school children, like Mary has said, school children need just to, first of all, we need to teach them the classical art of Nigeria. And so we have replicas that we can use to teach them that. We build stories around those replicas, and then we use that to talk to them. So we also take them to an activity room where we tell stories, basically. And then for older groups, we conduct them around the gallery, depending on their needs too, because at times, if we were online, we would have a platform where people will tell us what they want as they come to the museum, so that we don't just dish out what we think they should. They'll tell us exactly what they want to see, and the stories they want to hear. So in these areas, we need digital technology. It will make the job more effective. It will help everybody involved, to disseminate their duties effectively.
What kind of digital tools are you thinking about here? Like,
we're thinking of laptops.
Yeah. Okay.
We're thinking of
hardware.
Cameras. We're thinking of hardware first, because and then we can, if we need to make do any software, we will begin to look for that. But hardware first. We need screens. We need cameras. We need speakers. We need, basically just hardware things.
Audiovisual equipment.
Easier.
Yeah.
Audiovisual equipment. Thank you. Yes. Yes, that's what we should start with.
Yeah. That's definitely. And nonetheless, you're able to with the means that you have to engage school kids who you said were 70% of your audience and in the National Commission for Museums. I'm just curious, do adults come to museums, or is it a different experience?
Adults, yes,
Mhm.
adults come to the museum. Adults come to the museum.
Is it free?
They come to
Is
the
it
museum.
free,
We
or
have
there's a
adults.
charge? Is there a charge for
It's actually a stipend. It's not, we can't call it a charge because we're not allowed, to charge. We don't generate revenue. So it's just a little thing, a stipend, a small,
It's a contribution,
amount of money that
right.
is not even up to $1. If we want to exchange right now, it's not to $1 what we charge. So that we use to, maintain, clean the place, the galleries, basically that's because what we spend in the museum is run basically on government subvention.
Right.
So we don't make money. We're not an IGR revenue generating place. No.
Yeah.
So so we don't charge, and at times we don't even charge anything at all.
Right.
Yes, for school children, we allow them to come in. Yeah,
right.
we don't.
Right. Louisa or Mary and Nkechi, I just had a question. Like the big digital system for infrastructure is obviously collections management systems and digital asset management system. Do you have a collections management system? Do you use one?
A collections management system? Yes, we have. I can say we have because the other day when we're talking, I told you that in the documentation department, we all through the year we keep updating our collection, our objects. So they're actually digitized. We have photographs of them. We have 3D photos. We have descriptions. We have accession. So we have a management collection system.
Okay.
The only challenge is that this system is kept. The way we keep them is the challenge. How we keep them, we don't have a backup. I don't know how to put it now, but we don't have a backup where we store them in hard disks and flash drives and all, and that is not adequate for such big collection because each of the museums under the NCMM, we have more than 60,000 collection, and we have 50 museums in Nigeria. So that's huge.
So talking about conservation and of monuments and other cultural sites, and Nkechi, you were alluding to earlier that your job is really to conserve the cultural heritage of Nigeria and make sure that the assets are maintained in a proper way. How does this happen, and how do you go about it, and do you use any technology at all to do this kind of work? Nkechi, did she hear my question? Louisa, did you hear my question?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I heard you.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, I can say something about it.
Sure.
Though that's not my area, but I don't know where Nkechi is. I don't know. Maybe she's having some technical, problems. She's here.
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, like I was saying, for conservation, we do like physical, inspection. And, like now that we're talking about digitization, we actually need some gadgets, like there's something called geographic information system, where we need, to use them to plan, to survey the monuments. You understand?
Yeah.
Because we actually don't have the funds for a thorough conservation. We just do the bits we can because of the paucity of funds. And, like I said, before, it's capital intensive. So we just do little patches sometimes. And then at the end of the day, these, monuments keep deteriorating because we don't do, big kind of maintenance on them.
Yeah, maintenance, yeah.
So, yes, we don't. So at the end of the day, we find out that most of these things that happen to them, like flooding, the attack by fungi and all that, those things, keep occurring. They're occurring on the monuments. And then because of paucity of funds, they deteriorate so fast. And even recently, one of our monuments was brought down because it had deteriorated so bad that, the family, were connived somehow and brought the monument down. But, because we did not have funds to maintain them at that time, to maintain this particular monument, it became so bad, it deteriorated so bad that because it was a living monument, people were living inside the monument and, they were complaining. So we couldn't really do much because of lack of funds.
Yeah, of course.
So the conservation we actually do is not so much. We need a lot of funds to conserve and preserve these monuments. But the problem is, funding. We don't have funds to do that. And that's what causes the deterioration, rapid deterioration of these monuments.
Yeah.
Eric, may I say something?
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
May I say something, Eric?
Yeah.
Okay. You were asking if right now there's some digital, if they're using any digital tools in their work right now. Was that was a question asked?
Yeah, in conservation.
Did you ask Nkechi that? Okay, in conservation. So Nkechi, in conservation, is there any any digital?
There's no digital equipment or anything for us right now, but we need things like I said, geographic information system, for the planning and survey and, to tell, let us know the places we need, this conservation intervention.
Yeah.
If we had those, digital cameras and headsets for VR and all that, we would, be able to access these things without even, going to the sites.
Right.
You understand? Right. So if we had those, it would be easier for us, to monitor the deterioration aspect of the monuments. But we don't have any digital equipment to use that we use for conservation right now.
Right.
No, at all.
Let me ask you a question, because it's I can't believe that it's already 48 past the hour. So we have literally about 10 minutes left. I had a question to the three of you. Does the National Commission for Museums and Monuments have a strategic plan for all of the museums and the cultural institutions that make up in Nigeria? Do you, by this I'm asking, is there a plan to where the Commission for Museums and Monuments wants to lift the sector and move the sector towards greater financial sustainability, for example, or whatever the goals of a strategy might be? Has the Commission done that ever?
Yes, I would want to say yes. When we joined the museum, say about 20 years ago, the country, well, because the country is in recession, it's practically affecting every facet of life in Nigeria. And so then there was a strategic plan, and it was being followed at that time, So what comes to the museum, what was mapped out to come to the museum as in funds for stated projects do come to the museum. But these days, because, and this is not just unique to the museum alone, it's a problem that cuts across sectors, cuts across every area of life in Nigeria. So because of that, it's affecting the museum. So even at the end of the day, when there's a budget, they may not, or the museum may not be able to access the budget because there's no fund, there's no cash to back it. It's just there as a plan. And so when there's no cash to back it, it doesn't happen. So that's what the major problem is right now.
Obviously. I mean, I was going to, since you equipment, hardware equipment, such as like computers and, desktops and audiovisual equipment seems to be, things that you would need as a matter of priority. Obviously, if there's no fund in the budget, it's really difficult to acquire those things, and it makes your job even more difficult. But at this point, this is really interesting for our audience, and I don't know who is with us, but I just wanted to open to questions. And since it's a meeting and it's a relatively small audience, do you have any questions for Louisa or Mary or Nkechi? I'm not calling on people, I promise. Okay.
Can I say something, Eric?
Sure.
Okay, part of the challenges we're facing, in terms of digital and technological developments include poor network coverage. We have very poor network coverage, and then there's a problem with power, electricity. Even when you have these gadgets, you can hardly use them because of lack of power, electricity. So yes, so the poor network coverage kind of causes a stumbling block, even when you want to reach out to the public. Even when you have this hardware, you have them, but it's always a problem. If you have the Wi-Fi, there's a problem with network coverage and all that. So that's part of the problems we have, the challenges we have.
Sure.
Development. Yes.
I have a question for you. Is there a museum association that in Nigeria that is kind of dedicated to supporting museum workers and the museums?
Yes, we have what we call Friends of the Museum.
Okay.
That kind of support us from time to time, but it's not. It used to be very functional, but well, for now, is like they are not so much available like they were before now. So, but we still go out, and then we try to involve ourselves with a private organization. We do what is called a public-private partnership. With other organizations, and then we solicit for maybe funds sometimes to help us out sometimes, because like Louisa said, we are a non-generative, non-profit making organization. So we need to go out, to source for funds most times.
Yeah, of course.
Because the budgets allocated to the culture and tourism sector is really nothing to write home about. So that is the problem. We have such associations, actually.
Right. Yeah. Well, the hope in was in your participation to MCN that you can, now officially part of this community, and that you can tap into this global network of other museum professionals, and to see, if you need help or have, or just get your bearings around the basic, digital pathways, basically, to grow. But it's I realize it's very difficult to do this if you don't have funding and the support of your institution. And, you're dealing with, significant roadblocks. But I do think that, tapping into the MCN community as a resource for you in Nigeria can be definitely a source of new conversation, and where, a place where you can ask questions, and people will definitely answer, because that's what we do at MCN. Any questions because we're almost done, and I just wanted to see if there are any outstanding questions for Louisa, Mary, and Nkechi. I did have another question, actually, very quickly. Not that you might know, but how do you compare, does the Nigerian cultural sector and museums compare to other African nations? It's a open-ended question. I don't know if you know, but I'm curious to see if it's on par, or there are countries that invest in culture more than Nigeria, perhaps, or that are not in such a critical economic situation right now. Do you speak to other African museums outside of Nigeria?
Yes, we do speak with other African museums. In fact, at some point, we used to have a museum association, Africom, Association of African Museums.
Wow.
Like Africom, yes. And we had a West African Museums project, a WAMP, that's for West African region. And so we used to do a lot of collaborations. We used to do a lot of back then. But both organizations, as we speak, are not, Africom is existing, but skeletally. WAMP is completely non-existent anymore, any longer.
Right.
So, and then it used to still be the same kind of challenges that we have.
Exactly.
That's still the same kind of challenges there. And our own case is something else, because Nigeria is large. Most African countries are not as big as Nigeria. Aside from Nigeria, I think I'm not talking about Northern Africa now, but I'm talking about all other African countries. I think the only country in Africa that may be free of the kind of challenges we have here would be South Africa, Kenya, and I remember that country now, maybe just about 2 or 3 of them.
South Africa, Kenya.
No, not Zambia. Not Zambia. I've forgotten what that. So those are the countries that I think maybe may not be having such challenges. I was in South Africa last year, March 2020. And I saw we had a program in one of the museums, and it's also a government-run museum, Iziko Museum of South Africa, and I've seen what they do. It's totally different from what we have in Nigeria. Completely different. Completely. So it's almost the opposite. So
there's hope that things can get better. And in the meantime, what I'm offering is, this community for you to tap into. And I'm glad you were able to join the conference and this panel today. I'm not sure if it was really informative to our listeners. But I thought it was well worth put on the program because, you know, we so readily forget that the state of museums in other parts of the world need a lot of support. And so that was the, you know, that was my intention, to have a focus on Africa as well. So Louisa, Mary, Nick, and do you have any questions for the audience yourselves? Is there any question that you'd like to ask them?
That I know.
Okay, we have a Slack channel where you can do that, but I will send that to you after the session.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.